beloved teachers and my dear colleagues. I'm Dashleen Gandhi. Today, we have gathered to learn about the concept of liberal education and how it's bringing a revolution worldwide. We are indeed privileged to have this amazing opportunity to gain knowledge about this growing field from the experts Ms. Rangoli Dhingra and Ms. Harshita Puri, who are our guest speakers today. We thank you for taking our time and leading us. We welcome you both with open arms, and I speak for everyone present here as I say that we are looking forward to hearing your views and opinions. A little bit about liberal education. It's a term used for a multidisciplinary approach to education. It emphasizes on a learning system which provides students the choices to take courses which are varied. Students can experience a broad spectrum of courses, and they have the possibility of meandering into many streams of knowledge to discover which their calling is. Liberal education strives to deliver an academic experience that fosters intellectual curiosity, a critical thought process, self reflection, and teamwork skills, a sense of commitment and professionalism, as well as a heightened sensitivity to one's socio cultural environment. Moving forward, let me give you some insights about our learned speakers. Ms. Harshita Puri is the Deputy Manager at Ashoka University. With a bachelor's degree in commerce, she started her career in finance. She worked with the Royal Bank of Scotland for a year and then later joined AON as an HR consultant. She has always been a social change enthusiast at heart, so her experience to work with destitute, orphaned, and abandoned children opened her eyes to the limitless potential to make a change. With that in mind, she went back to academics to pursue her master's in social work from Jamia Millia Islamia. Thereafter, she's worked closely with differently abled children as a teacher. Currently, she's working with the outreach department at Ashoka and says that she enjoys every bit of interacting with young, intelligent, and motivated children, as well as guiding them. Another interesting fact about her is that she's passionate about sports and has also represented at national level. On the other hand, Ms. Rangoli Dhingra is a consultant with the outreach department at Ashoka and has been taking care of schools in Uttarakhand and Rajasthan. She's a graduate in arts with a diploma in fashion studies and one in advertising and public relations. She is currently pursuing a course in the Indian Sign Language, following her passion of neurodiversity and inclusion. Ms. Rangoli has grown up in Dehradun and personally feels she was born a few decades too earlier and given a chance would happily go back to being a student at Ashoka anytime. I once again thank you both for being here today and would kindly request the audience to give them a hand of applause. I would now request Ms. Rangoli to begin with her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dashleen. That was indeed an overwhelming introduction. And thank you, Shutapa, for having us talk with your students today. And a very warm welcome to all the students and to Harshita for being with me this afternoon. And yet again, thank you for being patient with all the technical glitches. And without further delay, we'll just begin. So I'm happy to be interacting with the students at Kasiga, although I would have much rather been there on campus at this very beautiful school. But let's hope things get better and next year we get to meet face to face. So without further delay, my name is Rangoli Dhingra and I'm going to take you through this session on liberal education in India. So Ashoka University, as you know, is a pioneer university in the country and pioneer university for liberal studies in the country. And we're located in Sonipat, Haryana. That is where our campus is, and that is where our students are studying together when before COVID and hopefully after COVID as well. Now, before we start talking about liberal education, which is the main topic of the day, I'd like you all to get a little back. Just one moment, please. Yes, sorry. So I'd like to give you a little background on the Industrial Revolution. So I think all the students at some point or the other in their classrooms have studied about the Industrial Revolution. And just to tell you very briefly, it is nothing but the change that has been documented. And when I talk about change, it is the change that the world has faced right from the 1800s to up to now. And as you see, on the icons on screen, you see that we have moved from the steam engine right up to now, where we are presently in the digital technology. In between, we did move from agriculture to industry. We moved from the steam power to more modern sources of fuel like electricity, gas, and oil. And we have moved now to the digital age. And this is not enough. We are still moving ahead, where technology gets more and more advanced each day. And as we speak, we are at the cusp of the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, where the future is all about robotics, artificial intelligence, cyber physical systems, and that is the kind of change that we have experienced from 1800s to now. Now, the question that comes up is, how has this change affected the world? So let's take a quick look at some statistics here. This is a research done by some agencies, and this tells us that, many jobs are going to be displaced by automation in less than 10 years from now. So we are already in 2021, and these statistics pertain to 2030. So it says 35% of the skills required for jobs today will change by 2030. And if you talk about India, more than half of the work activities are going to be robotically automated in our country. So as a result of all these things, more than two-thirds of Indian businesses today are looking for quite a different set of skills among new recruits than what they did 3 years ago. So the question as students you need to ask yourselves is, whatever it is that you're pursuing today, whatever it is that you're studying today, is this going to help you 5 years from now or 10 years from now? That is the question you need to begin the session with. So again, some more statistics. There are some jobs we have listed that are likely to disappear in the next few years. And when I say disappear, it doesn't exactly mean disappear, but the nature of these jobs is going to change drastically. So whether you're studying to be an architect today, or you want to get into the hotel industry, or maybe you want to be a software developer, these are some of the jobs that are going to change so drastically. So you as a student have to ensure that whatever it is that you're studying today, whatever knowledge and skills you're acquiring today, this should definitely withstand the change that is happening in the world each day. So there are some kind of jobs that are definitely going to survive this change. So who are the kind of people who will survive? Broadly categorized, these are research and strategic jobs, which lists out your economists, diplomats, planners, etc., your scientists. Why? Because they're already dealing with a lot of data, factual data, and a lot of change in their respective fields. And then there are these empathy-centric jobs. Luckily for us, we will not be able to do without doctors, psychologists, scientists, sorry, teachers, and nurses. There are these kind of jobs that have a human connect, and these are the people who will continue having a livelihood. Or then there are the creative people. How often you have looked at a writer or a musician or an artist, and you've said, वो तो अपनी दुनिया में रहता है. So the thing is that वो अपनी दुनिया में इसलिए रहता है because he or she is already accepting and adapting to change. So that is what sets them apart from you and me. Last but not the least, we have the environmentalists. Environment is a dynamic topic. It was relevant yesterday, it's relevant today, and it will definitely be relevant tomorrow. So these are the kind of people who are going to survive this change. Now, you and I and the common man has to acquire certain skills if we have to withstand this change. And what are the skills? Sorry, Shutapa, did you ask something?
No, ma'am, no. Please
Okay.
continue.
No, okay. So there are certain skills that you as students need to focus upon, because these are the skills that are going to see you through the next few decades. What are these skills? First and foremost, there's a critical thinking skills. Now, what are critical thinking skills? The thing is that we are also used to consuming existing information, that in the bargain we forget to process knowledge to innovate, right? So critical thinking is basically the art of questioning yourself, questioning everything around you. So that is something you need to focus upon. Of course, you need to continue being creative. Then you also need to hone your interpersonal communication skills, because we believe that you do not move ahead as an individual, but you take the entire community along. And so there is this need to learn to communicate with one another very, very effectively. Of course, you must continue, having a high EI, which is your emotional intelligence, cognitive flexibility, your leadership skills, and technology skills. That though they will keep changing, you need to keep adapting to them. And last but not the least, diversity and cultural intelligence. In the coming years, the world is going to become a smaller place. Countries are not going to feel as far they feel now. And so you need to understand cultures of the world, and diversity is something that you need to focus upon. So moving ahead now, what is liberal education? What exactly is liberal education? Let me tell you first and foremost, liberal education is not a subject or a stream. It is in fact a pedagogy, a way of learning, a way of acquiring education. That is what is liberal education. Now, what exactly does it give you? Liberal education gives you the freedom to choose what you want to study. 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, when I was in school, say many years ago, if I were to tell my parents that, yes, I love biology, I want to study biology, they would just be very happy. Oh, our daughter wants to become a doctor. Or if I had a love for physics, it would just be understood that I want to pursue engineering. But that is not the case today. You may love biology, you may love physics, but you may just want to write in a science magazine. You may want to be a writer eventually. So, can you marry sciences to arts or humanities to, natural sciences? The answer is yes, and liberal education gives you this particular opportunity. You get the freedom to choose what you want to study. Liberal education is also not just a study of arts or humanities or sciences, rather, it's a study of all these streams put together. So, you may want to study, pure arts and pure sciences, and you may want to study both. So, that is the opportunity that liberal education gives you. Also, through liberal education, you would get an opportunity to follow an interdisciplinary approach. Now, this is very important because it has been proven that every stream, every domain is related to another. So, whether you want to be a psychologist, the need to study English is definitely there. Whether you want to be an economist, you must do a little math. If you want to be a scientist, there is no harm in learning art. So you definitely get an opportunity to pursue an interdisciplinary approach. And for this, you will follow breadth before you get into depth, which literally means that you will explore, you will experiment, you will get a working knowledge of various subjects before you get into the depth of what you wish to pursue. And above all, liberal education is your biggest opportunity to focus on skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication skills, team building skills, and mostly social awareness. That is very, very important, because the ultimate goal of a liberal education is to produce citizens who are aware, socially aware, culturally aware. So that is what liberal education is. Now, coming to what makes Ashoka unique as far as liberal education goes. At Ashoka University, when you apply, you don't apply to any particular course or any particular curriculum. You apply to the university with the mind of exploring before you choose. And this is the opportunity that every student gets. You don't have to declare your majors and minors as you join the university. You get a chance to study various disciplines and only then decide what is it that you want to major in. Of course, as a student, you definitely want to learn from the best. And if you take a look at the faculty at Ashoka, you will know that these are globally experienced, globally educated lecturers that you have at Ashoka, and they are the ones who, take your classes for you at the university. A very important part about liberal education is you need to look beyond rote learning. Now, if I ask you what exactly is rote learning, this is something that the Indian education system has been guilty of in the past, but luckily for you as students, it is something that is changing. Now, rote learning is nothing but ratification, and all that we did in the past was read, memorize, and write, reproduce, right? There was no active learning, and this is something that liberal education and learning at Ashoka focuses upon. So, your typical classroom session will not be restricted to the four walls of the classroom. Instead, there'll be group discussions, there'll be field trips, there'll be research, there'll be project work, and that is how you acquire knowledge at Ashoka University. Also, a very important pillar of Ashoka, not just liberal education, but Ashoka is it's a philanthropic organization, and the founders share a passion, a vision of bringing world-class education and making it affordable to all. That is the most important thing about Ashoka University. Now, coming to how do we look at students, prospective students. So, students, you must understand that for us, you are more than just your grades. Your grades, your percentage, your marks, while we definitely want you to do well, but it is not what defines you, right? You may be average in academics, but you may have super qualities otherwise. You may be really good at debating, you may be a fantastic sports person, you may have hobbies and interests, that really set you apart from the rest of the students. So for us, all those things matter, and what we look at is your overall engagement with school life. So for us, you are not definitely your grades or your marks, you are much more than your grades. At the university, at Ashoka University, what you also get is a diverse and vibrant student body, because here you have students coming from all walks of life, all parts of the country and the world. And that is how, those are the kind of people that you stay with for the next 3 years or 4 years of your life, and they are the ones you learn from. And when you look at a university for yourself, you obviously check the credentials. You want to know, who has created this university, what was the intention. So you'll be happy to know that India's best industrialists, academicians, entrepreneurs, they're the ones who share this passion of bringing world-class education to the country, and they are the ones who have contributed to Ashoka. And all of these factors make Ashoka your launchpad to become a global leader. A very quick look at some of our founders here. At this point, these names may not mean anything to you, but now as you step out of school, you would want to be inspired by individuals who have acquired, their knowledge globally and in the country, who have made a success of their lives, and who also want to give back to the community. So in your free time, please check out these names, do a Google search, and please see their credentials. That would be a wonderful thing to do. At the helm at Ashoka, we have Mr. Rudrangshu Mukherjee, who's a Chancellor and Professor of History. He's a DPhil from Oxford University. And we have Malvika Sarkar, who's the Vice Chancellor and an alumni of. And together, both of them. Okay, some disturbance.
1, 2, 3. Yes, also.
Sorry, sir, I can't hear you. Anybody saying something? No. Okay. So together, these two individuals have had leadership roles in various universities in the country and abroad before coming to take care of Ashoka. This really brings us to the undergraduate program at Ashoka University, and this is of interest to all of you. So let me tell you, your 3 years at Ashoka, your degree program at Ashoka University is a 3-year degree program through which you get your BA honors or your BSc honors, and this spans across 6 semesters. Through these 6 semesters, every student undertakes foundation courses, major and minor courses, and co-curricular courses. Over and above this, we also have an optional 4th year, but I'd like to talk about that a little later. Let's just begin right at the start, and I'd like to explain all of these to you. So starting with the foundation courses, every student at Ashoka in their first year would take these 9 foundation courses. Now, if you take a look at these are the, this is our promise to allow you to explore. It is here through these foundation courses that you get a chance to, study a little bit about psychology, a little science, a little history, some literature, a bit of economics and politics and society, and of course your introduction to critical thinking. These are 9 very mindfully and thoughtfully created courses, and which every student finds very, very beneficial, because at the end of these courses, you are in a position to decide what is it that you want to major in, what are the minors you'd wish to study, and what are the co-curriculars that would interest you. So here I'm going to leave you on the screen for just a few seconds, a quick look at the pure majors, interdisciplinary majors, minors and co-curriculars that are on offer at the university. So for your degree program, you need to pick up either one major or an interdisciplinary majors. So if you see the first 2 columns, you can pick and choose any subject that you wish to study. And here, other than computer science, economics, mathematics, and physics, these are the subjects that would require the study of math in 11th and 12th. Other than this, if you wish to pursue psychology or political science or any other subject and you haven't studied that in school, that is perfectly all right. You can still choose to, get your majors and minors in these particular subjects. Now, the basic difference between a major and an interdisciplinary major is a major is a study of one single subject in depth, whereas an interdisciplinary major, you put 2 subjects together and study them in conversation with one another. So if you see, these are all UGC approved combinations, whether it's English and creative writing, economics and finance, or history and international relations. These are combinations that are anyways interconnected, but through an interdisciplinary majors, you get a deeper knowledge of the connection between the 2. So if you see, this is typically one major and one minor put together. Having chosen your majors, you move on to minors. Now, minors are not mandatory. Even if you pick up one major to study, you will still get your degree. But while at the university, every student chooses to study a minor as well. And why not? You are there to study. You might as well add value to your degree. So you could choose from any one of these minors that you can see on the screen. So you have your majors, you have your minors, and for your degree course, you need 2 co-curricular activities each. So whether it is from the category of arts, film, performing arts, languages, photography, or theatre, every student needs to choose 2 of these co-curricular activities to complete their degree program at Ashoka. Coming back to this optional 4th year, which I mentioned earlier, this is also called the Ashoka Scholars Program. And this is your, over and above your degree course. You will get your degree in the 3 years, but this 4th year, which most Ashoka graduates choose to do. Now, why would you want to do this? First and foremost, many of you may be aspiring to do your masters abroad from foreign universities. They usually require a 16-year education experience. So this 4th year typically is your 16th year of education in the country. Now, through this 4th year, what is it that you can do? Let me tell you, you can utilize this 4th year just exactly as you want to utilize it. Now, through this 4th year, you can either advance your major, say you've got your BA honors in English and you want to advance your major, you could do some more courses and advance that major in your 4th year. You could also convert your minor into an equivalent major by doing some more courses. Or you could opt to do some research and write some journals and papers and get published with your professors. You have an option to do that. Or you can become a teaching assistant. And last but also very popular, you could pursue a new minor altogether. So these are a few of the things that you could do in your optional 4th year at Ashoka. So moving on and coming to sciences at Ashoka. Now, sciences at Ashoka. Now, why would a student opt for science at Ashoka? Firstly, and the most important reason is every science student, and now of course other disciplines as well, you want a chance to do research. Am I right? sciences in particular. And nowhere in the country does an undergraduate student get an option to do research. But at Ashoka, second year onwards, we encourage our students to do research. And in fact, many of them have also published papers, journals alongside their professors. So this is the opportunity you get for sciences. And of course, you have high-end laboratories, you have state-of-the-art equipment, you have 24/7 access to your labs. So these are a few of the things that a student of science would want, and this is what you get at Ashoka. Above all, you get faculty who is not just a teacher or a professor, but they continue being a scientist in their own individual fields in life, and that is the kind of experience they bring to the classroom at Ashoka. Currently, we have five pure science majors and two interdisciplinary science majors at Ashoka. Now, very briefly, I want you to take a look at this slide. We have 135 full-time and 46 visiting faculty members. Here, I have just picked up a handful of them for you to take a look. Now, your teachers, your faculty should inspire you. And these names, what you see on your screens, are highly accomplished individuals who are the faculty at Ashoka. Please do see their names, or simpler still, just go to the website, pick and choose a subject of your choice, check out the faculty and do go through their credentials. It is most inspiring to see how accomplished they are. Moving on, the other promise that we give to our student is the promise of global exposure. Now, obviously, students these days want to experience the world, and here we offer them summer and semester abroad programs. You could choose any course in any university across the globe, and you could choose to go and do it there, either through your summer or an entire semester. And the credits you earn there would be added to your transcript at Ashoka. Now, in the past, in the good old pre-COVID days, our students have gone on to King's College, to Yale, to Columbia, etc. And you'll have more information on the website. So they have gone and done their courses abroad, and you have a similar opportunity. Currently, these programs are being done virtually. Let's hope and pray things get better and we move on to being back to normal after COVID. Just to give you a glimpse at some of our international partners, what you see are the best names in the field of education across the world, whether it's Berkeley, Stanford, Sciences Po, Lehigh. These are the partners, international partners we have. And how do we collaborate with them? It's not just through, student exchange programs. We also have faculty exchange programs, and faculty from these universities help us to modify our curriculum, to keep in times with the changing trends in education. They help us to modify our curriculum from time to time. And this brings us to a very, very important part of the talk today. And for this, I'd like to invite my colleague, Harshita Puri, who will explain very nicely to you the holistic admissions process that Ashoka University follows. Over to you, Harshita.
Thank you so much, Rangoli, for such a lovely explanation about the university and about liberal education. And thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting us here. I'll just quickly proceed. So talking about the holistic admission process, so we're so used to the traditional way of cutoffs, and that's what we look into. So this is something which is very important at Ashoka, which Rangoli has already explained to you before, that we do not take care of your grades. So for your grades are not something which is very important. We do see your grades, but we see beyond your grades. So for us, it's an online application form, and we usually start a little early by the month of October. So you have to share with us your 10th, 11th, 12th grades. So meanwhile, if you don't have your 12th board scores, you can share with us your predicted scores. The predicteds could be self-predicted. They can also be predicted by your school counselors. And you can self-predict your grades as well. Apart from that, we ask you to share if you've given SAT or ACT exams. That's completely optional, but you can share with us those scores also. There's one letter of recommendation which needs to be given to us. So that can again come from your school teachers, counselors, principal, anybody. I mean, whomsoever you really wish to get your LOR from. And there's going to be a detailed essay which you have to write in your application form. So there are 3 essays. The intent of this essay is to know about you, who you are as a person, your journey of life, what has been your journey throughout. So your learnings, your leadership skills, anything which you would like to share with us, you can talk about this in your application form. So the intent is just to know about you. So your journey and my journey cannot be same. So just ensure that ensuring that whatever your experiences have been, you're sharing all of that in your application form. Any disability you have, anything which you want us to know about you should be mentioned in your application. Apart from that, once all this is done, there's an assessment test. So it's called Ashoka assessment test. This is mandatory for everybody, and it has basic logical reasoning and basic English questions. So you have to go through this test, and there's an on-the-spot essay. So the intent of the on-the-spot essay is just to know the essay you've shared before were your own thoughts and ideas. So just reflect upon that. So you just need to write a good essay, and that's all. This is a part of the application process. Once all this is done, we do one level of screening, and then you're shortlisted for the interview. The interview is conducted for the shortlisted students, and it's more like an interaction with the panel. So it's nothing. We just you have to share basic whatever is there you've mentioned in your application form. We just would like to talk to you about that and whatever current affairs are. Apart from that, once all this is done, we give you our decisions once the interview is over. So it could be a confirmed offer wherein you're confirmed in the first go. It could be a conditional offer wherein we wait for your board results scores. So we ask you to share your board results scores, and then based on that, we get back to you if you're getting a confirmed offer or not. And there's going to be a deferred. Deferred is a reject from our side. So we cannot reject anyone before your board results scores are out. So we usually give a deferred. Once all this is done, we ask you if you need any support from our side. So as Rangoli told you, we don't take care of grades, and another important thing with us is your finances. So these 2 things we really don't take care of. So once you get a confirmed offer from us, we open up a financial aid form for you. I'll talk about this in detail a little later. We can just move ahead, Rangoli. So coming to our admissions timeline, this was last year's timeline. We usually start our admission process by the month of October. So this year we started on last year we rather started on 14th of October 2020 for this year's admission cycle, and we closed closely on June 23rd. So that's the time when we open up our applications. We really don't wait for your board results scores, and we start a little early. So we have 4 rounds of application usually every year. Round 1 starts a little early, so you can apply in any of the rounds. So the best part here is if you apply a little early, then you get your decisions even way before your board results. I'll explain you one of the rounds how it usually works. So we started in the month of October, that was 2020. The deadline was till November 18th, 2020. That was the deadline for the submission of your application form. Then we had the assessment on 29th November, and we gave our decisions between 8th to 13th January. So by then you had a clear idea if you were shortlisted at Ashoka or not, and you had to accept accept your decisions by 15th in between any time. So this period, but that's how it works. Otherwise, the deadline was 23rd June for this admission cycle. Coming to our fees and financial aid. So this is something which is very important for us at Ashoka that we do not take care of. I mean, 2 things, just focus on your grades and finances. This is something you can completely ignore while you're thinking of a university like Ashoka, especially. So our annual fee is somewhere around 9.87 lakhs per annum. But we also offer financial aid, which is on need basis, and it is not on merit basis. So as I told you, once you get a confirmed offer at Ashoka University, your financial aid form is going to get open up for you. You have to share with us certain details. We ask you to share certain documents, your parents' ITRs, balance sheet, if you come from a business family. Based on that, we get back to you as to how much financial aid we can give it to you. So this has nothing to do with your application or anything. I mean, this is completely a separate process. So last year, we had 42 students on financial aid, out of which 102 students were on full scholarships. That means they were on 100% scholarship. Over and above, we've given them laptops and stipend as well. We had 6.3% students whose family income was less than 2 lakhs rupees, and 6% students who were first generation college goers. So we are liberal in every sense. And reason behind this is we really look for diversity. We want to make it as diverse as possible, as it's a research-based university. So that's the intent, and that is why we really emphasize on our financial aid also. Coming to our campus life. So we have a very vibrant campus life. So it is a fully furnished campus, and your rooms are completely furnished and air-conditioned rooms. We have infirmary on campus, so it's a 24/7 infirmary along with a ambulance, 24/7 ambulance on campus. Apart from that, there are common lounges, reading rooms, and a lot of other facilities available on campus. You could see videos on YouTube which will help you to see how vibrant the campus actually looks. And apart from this, other services which are available are, there's a 24/7 library, there are tuck shops, you have a salon, there's a 24/7 gymnasium again on campus. Coming to our sports and other facilities. So as I told you, it's a very vibrant campus. So coming to our sports facilities, we talk, Rangoli, can we just move on? Yeah, coming to our clubs and societies, where we have more than 55 plus clubs and societies on campus. So these are some of the famous clubs on campus. So you can if you wish to be a part of any of these clubs, you can just completely join them. This is apart from your co-curricular activities on campus. So this is some of the famous clubs I mentioned here. If you wish to know about our clubs in detail, you can just go through our website. That'll help you to get an idea about the clubs in detail. I think someone was talking about something. Ma'am, you wanted to talk about something? All right. So coming to our sports and fitness opportunities, these are some of the famous sports available on campus. So all of these sports which you can see on your screen, they're all there on campus, and you have your instructors who can just guide you. If you've already been a part of any of these sports, and you've been learning or maybe representing your school at any level, you can play these sports and continue to do that even at Ashoka. So even if you wish to learn these sports, you can do that. So we have coaches and instructors for all of these sports which are shown here. So if you wish to learn them, you can do that. And if you wish to represent Ashoka at some level, we participate in all the events. So we are part of, usually we've been participating at very good levels also. Going ahead, if you have any questions regarding anything, I would request you all to put your questions in the chat box. We'll be happy to take up your questions once the session is over. So anything which, if you have any questions, just put in the chat box. Coming to our placements and higher education options. So the best part about placements at Ashoka is that, it doesn't make a difference to us which majors are you really coming from. So whichever major you come from, you can continue. You can apply to any of the places, any of the places at Ashoka. It doesn't make a difference to us wherein, which majors are you really from. So we had last year, the data which was there was 560 students got placed, and we had 250 companies coming on campus. And here I would just like to mention that our placement is 100%. So people who definitely apply for placements, we ensure that those students get placed. So that's for sure. The average salary is somewhere around 10.5 lakhs per annum. And the highest salary was given to a guy who got placed in Microsoft last year. He got a salary of 25 lakhs. And he got placed in Microsoft. He was a computer science major. Yeah. So these are some of the departments where our students have already got placed. So we have companies coming from banking and finance, could be education and development, research and think tanks, media and communication. So it's a very diverse place. Whichever department you wish to get placed in, you're open to just go ahead with that. We really help you to get your jobs. And there's the best part is that there's a separate team on campus. So there's a career development office. From your first year onwards only, they help you. You get in touch with the office. Any queries you have, you can be a part of the team, placement cell team. You can do internships with them. They also help you to get your internships from the first year onwards. So anything you have related to your placements or internships, you can just reach out to the department. They'll help you to get in touch with the right team, right company also, and help you to find the best fit for yourself. Going ahead to our higher education options. So we have our students usually who, so the best part about the fourth year at Ashoka is that you can pursue your PhD directly in abroad universities. So a lot of our students have gone for their higher education to these places. Some of them have also gone for their PhD directly after the fourth year. And they've also been pursuing their masters. If you're looking for options in India, you can just go to places like Delhi University, you can go to ISB or maybe TISS, but these are the best universities if you're looking forward to options. And we really help you with that. So as Rangoli told you, we have a summer abroad program and a semester abroad program. So we have a global strategic team which really helps you with that. And also the way you've applied at Ashoka, we really help you with the application process to these universities. So we really support you end to end. And you can get your LORs from the faculty at Ashoka because they are the ones who've been teaching at Ashoka, and they are the ones who've come from these universities, who've already done their higher education from these universities. So they can really help you to connect with these universities also. All right, going ahead to our talking about our diversity. So it's a very vibrant and diverse campus. I'm sure you've heard this word a lot of times from the first slide to the last one, but yeah, it's actually a diverse environment on campus. So we really emphasize on diversity. We had a batch of 561 students last year coming in from 18 different countries, 105 cities, and 342 different schools. We also focused on socio-economic diversity, as I told you. And so we had students on financial aid last year, which was 42% students on financial aid. I've already talked about this data. And gender diversity is also something which is very important for us. Past few years, we've been seeing that somehow percentage of women have always been higher. So it's 56% women's last year, 43% men, and 1% neutral gender on campus. So I would really want you to go through some of the YouTube videos wherein, I mean, you can clearly see how vibrant and diverse the campus is. Also talking about our YSP, it's a Young Scholars Program. I don't know how many of you here are from class 10, 11th, and 10th, 11th, 12th. For this program is for students of class 10th, 11th, 12th, people who've been coming to 11th. So again, it's a summer program wherein we it's a 1 week summer program, so you can apply online. Our application is going to start from December onwards, wherein you can apply to any courses and get a fair idea as to what Ashoka is all about and get a little feel about what work we've been doing. You get an exposure to speak to our faculties. Initially, this program used to be an offline program wherein we used to invite students to our campus, and they used to stay on campus for a week and really see what liberal education is all about, and really understand that before even applying. So unfortunately, because of the current scenario, we've discontinued that. But again, it is a fantastic program. You can just read about it if you wish to pursue this program also. That'll just get you a little feel of what Ashoka is all about. All right, thank you so much. So we've Rangoli's details are here on the screen. I mean, if you have any queries related to the application process, anything you want to understand about liberal education or how it works, how it's connected, you can just reach out to us on any of this. I mean, anyways, you can mail it to us or maybe reach out to us directly over a call. So we'll be happy to connect with you, and we welcome you for your questions. I mean, we're happy to take up your questions also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harshita. That was very, very enlightening. And I do hope the students have got a fair idea of our holistic admissions process and how it is very, very different from what we as students have been accustomed to in our country. And just to add to all that Harshita has explained, let me tell you, all the students, let me tell you that the application process at Ashoka in itself is a learning experience. It tells you so much about yourself. It compels you to think about yourself and your choices in life. So do engage with the application. And as she said, as Harshita said, we are right here to help you with the process. So thank you so much, and thank you for all your patience. Shutapa, over to you. We are pretty much done with all that we wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Rangoli. I'm just requesting my head boy, Yashraj Gupta, to address the students and all of us.
Sure.
Yashraj.
Does any students have any questions before we go do the vote of thanks?
Yes, we'll be happy to hear any questions that any of the students may have. So also for your information, Kasiga School does give us a few applications every year, and it is our effort this year, to convert most of these applications to acceptances. So it is for us to help you with the process, help you with your essay writing and your application structuring. So whatever help you need through the year, and especially when we open up our admission cycle in October, please reach out to Shutapa ma'am, and she will definitely ask us to, conduct a workshop for you wherein you will understand the applications better.
Sure, Rangoli. And I think after getting this, all the explanations from your side, they can check by themselves.
Yes.
And your like mail ID and phone number, everything is available. So they can reach out me or they can directly contact you. So just give some time to students. They can do some research work by themselves first.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, Yashraj.
A very pleasant afternoon to everyone. Now that we culminate this convoy of valedictions and felicitations, I, Yashraj Gupta, would like to take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks on the behalf of Kasiga family. My profound regards are directed to Ms. Rangoli Dhingra, Consultant Outreach, for reaching out to our school and making this very informative webinar happen. My heartfelt thanks to Ms. Harshita Puri, Deputy Manager, for sharing her precious time with us today. With immense gratitude, I would like to thank our school admin team for their administrative assistance throughout. My heartfelt thanks to the members of IT department for their tech support. We acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of all students and teachers for making this experience unique. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Yashraj. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Shutapa. Thank you for facilitating this. And a personal thank you to the tech team from us. Thank you so much for helping us throughout. And look forward to interacting with you through the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot. Bye, all of my dear students. Now you can log out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Harshita. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Harshita.
Thank you for calling us here. Thank you, Rangoli, for such a wonderful session. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.